purpose. No one can create your purpose for you. No one can tell you who to be. So in purpose, you have to create your own purpose. And in evolution, you have to evolve towards that purpose. It's easier to live when you have goals to meet. You understand? If you have goals to meet, then you don't feel so voided, and you understand why every day you're looking at this person in the mirror, because that is the cool part about the game. You get to be anybody you want to be.
Ten out of 10. Scale of 10. What do you rate the intro?
I like it. I think it's a good addition you made here this week.
Right. I mean, it's old. Like I said, I had the intro for like 5-6 years. That's how old that is. It was just embedded in my YouTube. So I finally figured out how to embed it here on the live stream here. So let's get it going. So, all right. So welcome to the show. I'm kind of take my time and let people come in. I know a lot of people are caught inside from the storm. So I'm going to get to the introductions here, and I want to welcome a special guest here. In fact, let me go ahead and let her introduce herself first, since she's new on the panel. I want to introduce Saba Shutai. Did I pronounce that right?
You did. I'm impressed. Thank you for having me.
All right, awesome. All right, so won't you take a couple of minutes, give us a 30-second bio here, and kind of introduce yourself, and that way we give people a couple more people time to get in, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Saba Shutai. I'm located in Detroit, Michigan, about 45 minutes north of Detroit. Long story short, migrated to America in my teens, been here about 20 years, finished school, went into sales shortly after, transitioned from life insurance to mortgages, the real estate industry, about in 2015. And then 2 years ago, I transitioned again to private lending. So in the last 2.5 years, I've been predominantly focusing on real estate funding outside of the traditional way of, your conventional loans. The majority of what we do through VS Capital is we work directly with investors, with builders, basically everyone who's looking for more creative ways of financing, whether it's an investment property or building their portfolio. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, welcome to the panel. Hopefully this is one of the very many shows. I mean, I'd like to welcome you to the family. Am I dragging a little bit, or am I right on point?
You're a little choppy once in a while, but overall you're good.
Gotcha. All right, so let's go ahead with the introductions here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, and then, David, you could go ahead with your intros. All right, so my name is Brandon B. Dixon, MLS 1541210. It's at Billionaire Loan Officer, all social media, including the YouTube. Please like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, hit the like button as many times as you can. I think that helps us out as well with the algorithm. Also, if you comment on the show live, we'll read any questions that you have, and we'll read any comments live here on the air. If you want to contact me for a consultation, go to my website, www.applywithb.com. Also, you can apply for a mortgage there. You can contact me 24/7, 832-775-8357. As long as it's about business, I'm willing to talk here. Last but not least, I got www.brandonbdixon.com. I'm a realtor as well. You could contact me to lease or list. Whatever you want to do, I'm available. David, I got you queued up. Or you're an admin now. You can work your own banners, man.
Well, to be honest, you've never shown me how. So until I learn that, you're still going to run it for me.
Gotcha. Well, I got you.
Funny enough, every time you say that, seriously, like call me 24/7. Like I'm just like, well, no, please don't call me 24/7. Call me between my working hours, please. But infinitehometeam.com, that's the first banner there. That's my website. You can go to the next one for me there. At David R. Youngs, that's most of my handles that you're going to find online. There are a few others, which is also at Infinite Home Team, which I don't think we have in the banner yet, but we'll get there. That is my NMLS 328679 OG. And if you want all of my contact info and every possible social media link you'll ever have, just simply go to this website and this will take care of all of it. .cards/David Youngs. And there is my YouTube channel as well, which you can find in that first one too.
Gotcha. All right, so let's go ahead and get the party started here. I know we're running a little bit late as far as the stream. I want to kind of reintroduce the show. Don't forget the power of ownership. We talk about not only ownership of properties, businesses, also we talk about ownership of the mind, body, and the soul. Just talking about ownership and period. Ownership overarching period. So we're talking about a little bit of everything. So this week we got something in store for you because a lot of people are calling me about what's the next move, what's the next thing that I could get into that could make me grow my portfolio, grow my money. So I got a few clips that kind of, revolve around that, and we're gonna go ahead and get it started. Before we get started, any thoughts or anything like that y'all want to share? Anything happened interesting this week?
I have no idea what's going on in the real world. It's been, I'm under a foot of snow, so.
Right.
I think it's cool. I wanted to comment. You said you went from life insurance into the mortgage industry. I started in the industry with both life insurance and mortgage lending. So along with access to other financing options as well. So we'll definitely have to talk offline later because you're a guest. So we haven't gotten to know each other very well yet, but going forward, yeah, that's just super cool. Like there's a lot of alignment there. I think that world can bring into this world.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. It does have a synergy. Let's get started. I'm starting to wake up here. It's been a long day.
Let's go.
All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Let's see. Here we go. Let's get started with the first clip, and then we'll go from here. Wow. Can y'all see the screen?
Yes, sir.
We can.
Let's go.
Oh,
Can you hear it?
Start with the audio? We're not hearing the audio. Brandon, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, there's no audio. Can you start it over and then play the audio?
You can't hear the clip?
Nope.
Saba,
can you?
No, I couldn't hear it.
Okay.
All right, gotcha. Let's see. Let me restart it here. Let's go to this. Because I can hear it loud and clear. That's different. Let me restart it here.
While we're waiting for him to do this, just for anybody watching, just know that the purpose of this show, of course, too, is we're playing different clips from things you might have seen online and trying to make sure that we're having professional commentary on what is this that we're seeing here. So we want your feedback as well at the end of this thing.
Are we good?
Nope.
Still nothing?
I actually really like this one, so I had some notes.
All right, so let me try a different way. That's crazy because I can hear it. I can hear it super loud. Let's go
it's probably my fault because I played around with a couple of settings there, trying to change the stupid logo and like changing Saba's name and all that stuff too. I probably messed something up and prevented you from sharing audio. So I'll take responsibility. It's my fault. Whatever happened, I clicked something I shouldn't have clicked.
Right. Let me go to the old school. Let's go to Instagram. You'll just have to see my DMs. Sorry. All right, let's see. Let's see if I got them all in one place. I think so. All right.
No, wait, the audience gets the opportunity to comment on those as well, right? And the audience gets the opportunity to ask about your DMs as well, right? I mean, we're sharing them.
Well, I think you could. I don't think you can see the DMs, or you can see who's DMing me. You know?
I got you.
Yeah.
Cliches.
What about
There we
you? You can hear it.
Yep.
Market to get better. You know who else waited for the market to get better? The Bronchiosaurus. Yeah, he was waiting, and a comet hit. Waiting for the market to get better to go buy a home is like waiting for the weather to go buy a convertible. You know when a convertible is the most expensive? When the sun's out, because everybody wants one. Our property is worth more than that. Yeah, no Sherlock. I want your property to be worth more than that too. You know what I want your property to be worth? $10 million. And I want to sell it in 1 second. Something is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. That's why pricing is so key. Remember, buyers buy things in 2 ways, with their heart and with their wallet. It's really hard to negotiate with the wallet, but I can negotiate feelings all day long. The most common
Yeah, that was
All
a
right,
fun video.
so-
I like the dinosaur at the beginning too.
All right, so David, you want to go first while I set up the next clip? And I like we like to go round robin. So David, then Sava, then I'll take the anchor on this.
Yeah, we change it up as we go. So first of all, don't forget, Brandon. We want to give kudos to the person that presented this in the first place, so that we plug them as well. But yeah, I think
Ryan Serhan, I think his name is.
Perfect. Yeah, go follow this guy. He's got some good content, it looks like. So I think the funny thing is, this is such a simple thing that if you were to say this to anybody, like, when should you buy a convertible? In the winter or in the summer? When is it going to be cheaper? Buy it in the winter. It'll be cheaper then, because nobody wants the convertible. Everybody understands this. You say the same thing about a house. Is it cheaper in the winter or the summer? Especially in places like Minnesota or Michigan, where Sava's from, where there's snow and cold. People don't want to move as much in those times of the year. So when you have this clear understanding, it's just amazing to me that people don't, they get this. They'll say they get this. Every single person will acknowledge this, but then they're going to make an emotional decision of, yeah, but I don't know. I think the market's still like, maybe I'll wait a little bit. I want to save up some more money. I need more down payment, or I think, maybe the rates will come down more. That's a big one. I know we're going to talk about that more in some of these other videos here of the rates might come down. Well, that's possible, but you can always refinance. You can't necessarily change the price of the home. The longer you wait, the trajectory or forecasts are the house is going to keep going up. So timing of the market is actually a thing to an extent. If you look at housing track records over the last, 80 years that they've been tracking this thing, plus every single year it's up in the spring, little tapered off in the summer, up in the fall, little tapered off in the fall, down in the winter, and then back up in the spring. Like, that's just how the cycle works as a general rule of thumb. Now, there are other variants, but understanding this concept is just really important. There's the emotional side and the logical side. And I think so many people get the logical side, but then they make that emotional decision. So I think he's right on with this point of that point of when do you buy a convertible. I really like that one specific thing that stood out to me. So that's my 2 cents on that video. I'll give the floor up now to Sava next.
Thank you. I'm actually a really big fan of Serhan, and that was an incredible analogy. But to take a little bit further, just to add on to what you said, it goes back to, you can't time the market. It's all about time in the market. And anyone who waits, like, the only thing you're ultimately waiting for, because there's always a direct correlation with interest rates going down and property values going up. Like, you can take those 2 points at any time in history, going back to the 80s, and every time interest rates go down, property values go up because more people come into the market. So just because you're, waiting for a lower interest rate, but you end up paying an additional $50,000, $60,000 for that exact same home. You don't have to go back to, 10, 15 years. You can go back to 2020. Everyone who purchased even 5 years ago is sitting in a very good equity position. So again, kind of going back in history, you can literally drop a pin at any point in history in the real estate trajectory, And fast forward 5 years and you're up and up by a lot. So again, waiting for something to happen is not very realistic, especially in real estate. Because we can build more houses, but not quick enough to offset the demand. So there's always going to be demand, and property values are going to continue to go up. So trying to time the market is not something I've ever advised. I live by not timing the market, but timing the market, because that's where you make your money.
Gotcha. I want to take it from the angle of I think we need to, and I don't want to say everybody because everybody's not going to be a monolith, right?
Sure.
I think more people need to look at it as not a purchase, an emotional purchase, but an investment. You need to look at real estate somewhat like you look at your investment portfolio, or you look at the stock market, or you look like investing in a business. It's more for your future. I think we tie it into like the same realm as buying a car, buying a purse, buying new shoes. And we get lumped up into this emotional purchase, and we kind of, that's why they call it fall in love. You lose your balance all of a sudden. You try to fall in love with a house, and it is not the best decision that we make. We look at the aesthetics instead of looking at the numbers. So and it dates back, it goes to everything programming that we see. We see this on commercials, and we see this on movies and TV series and stuff like that. So it's programmed in us to think like this. And when we think like this, we make irrational and illogical decisions. So I think we need to start framing it in the sense of, hey, this is not just a place to live, but this is for most people an investment into my future, an investment into my last name. So we need to start looking at it through that lens. And I know it's emotional. I know this has the marble floors. This has the pool in the back. I know it has that layer of it. However, the ultimate thing is that it's a lot of money. Most people, it's going to be the most money that you ever spend on one item. So you need to be smart about it, and stop looking at emotion. Don't forget, most of the time when you react emotionally, you lose. You lose most of the time when you react emotionally.
There's no leverage with emotions.
Right. So again, I think we need to look at it from the frame of, hey, this is a logical thing. When rates go down, like Sava alluded to, I'm going to pay more. Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. I'm answering the cliche with a cliche, So
There you go.
So if you want to be ahead of the curve, everybody wants to be different nowadays. Everybody want to be compartmentalized. If you don't want to be like the crowd, stand out from the crowd and start independently thinking, and start thinking of this as a investment. Even if it's my primary residence, it's still an investment in my future. So that part, and then the second part that he said, as far as yes, sellers as well. They think their house is the best ever, and that it's going to sell no matter what they do. And sometimes you got to come down from outer space and come down to reality. Again, it's the same thing with emotions. Look around you. Look what other houses are selling for. Those are the market. That is what people are paying. You can demand, you can ask for whatever you want. However, the market will set the price. And they will humble you quickly. So that's the thing. Is yes, with these things, we can't put. It's good to, I guess, be passionate about it, but I don't think you could flood these decisions with emotion. I want to open it up to that angle. What do y'all think about that?
Well, my house is so beautiful and perfect, and there's not another house in the neighborhood like mine.
Right.
And don't get me started on the landscaping.
Right.
I think real estate professionals make the worst clients.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was actually going to say the same thing about the tie into the real estate professional. He made the comment of, you want your house to be worth $10 million? So do I.
Right.
Like, I want to make sure that people understand like the alignment there with the real estate agents. Like, they want your house to be worth as much as you want it to be worth. They want it to be worth more. Like, right. You guys are, the real estate agents and you as the client are completely aligned as a seller. That you guys want the same thing. And honestly, on the buy side, kind of the same thing. The real estate agents wants to make sure that you're cared for, you buy the right home at the right price, but they don't want to necessarily make sure that you're buying the bottom of the barrel. They want you to get into a nice home that fits your family's needs. Like they're compensated as a commission-based professional, which is important to ensure that they are looking out for your best success if you're working with a good professional. So don't forget, like, if, especially as sellers, though, they have the same exact goal that you do. Help you get the maximum dollar for your home. So if you're coming in like, oh, well, I think it's worth this, and your realtor's saying, no, close, but right here, I think we should have it because I can see all the data, the logical side of this. I can see the data. I know exactly where this home needs to be. Trust them. Listen to them, especially if they're a good, reputable realtor that's been doing this a long time, that knows what they're doing. This is somebody you want to listen to. Don't just assume you know better and then think like, well, Zillow says it's this, or Redfin says it's this, or whatever other thing you searched online. Trust the professional a little bit there if you're working with a good one. But I just wanted to make that point clear of like, for all the realtors that might be watching this, just want to make sure to plug that point. The client and the realtor are aligned on this point.
Right. I just want to add this one story because my mentor always says stories sell and facts fade, right? So I'll give you an example. Right before we got online, I just had 2 litters of pups, and I'm keeping I'm keeping a couple of them, but a couple of them are going to be, up for grabs. So I had them what I thought they were worth. I'm looking around at the market, do I want to keep these puppies 3-4 months? Like, nah, let me go ahead and price them down. It's what's called being kennel blind. And I think some people get keep up with the Joneses blind when they're making these decisions. I feel that you want to, what do you want your house to say about you? I get that. However, do you want to keep the house? Do you want to be house poor? Same thing on the seller side. Do you want to sell this house? Do you want to sell it quickly? Do you want to move on, or do you want to have it linger? And so you got to ask yourself, I know you feel that it's worth more. I know you feel that you're worth more. However, you got to come down to earth and see what the market is trending. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I was sitting there changing the prices on, on my dogs right before we got online when I was waiting on you guys. So
Yep.
it is what it is. Right.
The market will correct you very quickly.
So do I want to keep these dogs the extra 4 or 5 weeks and eventually drop the price, or do I want to move them?
For anyone watching that might want a puppy, though, I will say Brandon did send me some photos of these guys, and they are freaking adorable. Right. So if anybody is looking for an amazingly adorable puppy.
All right, shameless plug here. Let me go to my website here. In fact, since you mentioned it.
Yeah, sure.
We love Frenchies.com is coming. So we love Frenchies.com. Let's go to the next clip here. Let's go ahead to the next one. I think we finished struggle streaming. I think we're ready to get it in full gear now.
Should I invest in commercial real estate or should I buy multiple residential properties?
Commercial real estate all day. The thing with residential properties, there's downtime between tenants. The leases are short. The spreads are not that good. So a lot of times people are buying a house. Let's say your mortgage is $2,200 with taxes and insurance, and you're renting the house for $2,500. That's $300 spread. Well, the issue is how long does it take you to make back $100,000 with $300 a month? Number 2 is the AC goes out and you just lost your profit for the whole year. So with commercial, there's a way bigger spread. There's automatic increases, yearly increases with the leases. So it just makes a lot more sense.
I have $100,000. Should I invest in commercial real estate?
All right. So, Salva, you're up. You got to give how we doing it. We're doing it.
Well, this is Real House too, so she really should be the one leading the charge.
I don't know if I agree with the advice for 2 reasons. First, you should not go. I don't know that it makes financial sense to go into commercial space because commercial space is a complete different beast than residential. And you're exposed to a lot more risk, vacancies. Kind of going back to the pandemic, everyone was sent home overnight, and we still haven't bounced back. So there's a lot of commercial right now that's defaulting. So if you're not an accelerated investor or haven't, I think everyone should start with residential, because you have less risk and more control, versus commercial. And you need a lot more money to get started in the commercial space where it doesn't make financial sense. I mean, again, unless you have a really good mentor and, someone who's willing to partner with you on your first couple of deals, but just taking $100,000 and going directly into commercial with zero investing experience seems extremely high risk from my perspective, what I've seen happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that's one of the quickest ways to lose your shirt is
Right.
to hop in the pool on the deep end. I think it was in the original Ocean's 11. And I don't know if you guys remember that movie where, they were putting up their money and the guy owned a string of hotels. He's like, yeah, I only got this much. Hey, I'm in the hotel business. I don't know if you remember.
Was
I
that
don't remember.
Ocean's 13?
Was that Ocean's 13?
That was
or
Ocean's
was it?
13, wasn't it? Where
Ocean's
where
13,
you owned multiple hotels.
Right.
Or the Five Diamond Award. That's what he won. The Five Diamond Award.
Right.
Maybe I'm confusing the two. Either way.
Right. I don't, like I said, it's been so long, but
It's been a while.
the joke was everybody knows if you're in the hotel business, you're strapping for cash.
Right.
That was the inside joke. So yeah, you want to hop in and I tell my friends this all the time. They try to get me to invest in multi like the 60 door and the 100 doors. I'm like, no, sir. Yeah. Only way I would do that is if
stock kennels.
The only way I would do that is if I had a bunch of money already stacked to the side, and then my appetite for that has gotten up to that. Just starting off, and I'm gonna show you this investment strategy I have is coming in the clips later on. I want to have where I have 10 to 20 doors residential. That way that money is coming in. It's something I can manage. If I need to sell one or two off, that's my strategy. I want to sip before I actually drink from the fire hydrant,
Right.
Because it's big risk, it's big rewards as well. However, like you said, I think it's the other way. That AC goes out in that commercial building. That's your whole,
$40,000.
yeah, that's your whole year plus some. And then I don't know where you're going to get, for $100,000 down. Usually commercials 30 to 35% down. So I'm not sure what type of strip center you're going to get, what type of commercial, that you're going to get only for $100,000, and then you want to have some operating expenses as well in case anything goes wrong. So it's going to be tough. So I would say, even as a residential, $100,000 not going to get you might get you a few, might one or two, not going to get you 3 or 4 properties, might get you 2 properties. Depends on the market, So.
Yep. You actually touched on 2 of the points that I wanted to bring up. One is the maintenance side. Like, you lose an AC unit, to your example, you lose an AC unit in a house, that might be $3,000 to $5,000. But
Right.
Commercial, it's a lot more than that.
About
So
$50,000.
maintenance potential, the potential risk is so much higher. Combined with that, though, the financing side, which of course, we're all tied to finance here. On the financing side, commercial, they really, really want to make sure that you know what you're doing for exactly these reasons up front. They want to make sure you're not going in blind, that you're not just, oh, I got $100,000, let's throw it at this commercial property. No. Is this your first time investing? Okay, we want 40% down then. Like, they're going to make this thing difficult to get you in and see the track record. They want to make sure that you know what you're doing, you're prepared for it. What are your assets? Who can vouch for you? It's a little different world than it is in the residential lending world, where there's government-backed loans and they're just like, oh yeah, 3% down, 0% down, totally fine. Great. Like, that's why that's a better option if you're a first-time home buyer. If you're going into the investment space, even there are 15% down options, 20% down options. That makes sense. And there's that analogy or, phrase of, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Take all your eggs and diversify them. Diversification is key in investing. This is what we do with our 401ks and our IRAs and everything else too, right? Is you diversify all of your different assets in different classes. You look at the risk appetite level. Are you conservative or aggressive? And based on this analysis of what you're going to do in the investing world with your dollars, your cash, You now do the same thing and apply that in the real estate world. You get in, you start building up your portfolio. Commercial is a great option eventually, but learn how to be an investor first. Get the education, build the foundation, build the track record, so that when an investor looks at you or a financial lender looks at you on the commercial space, they can be like, oh, Brandon, Sava, like you guys actually know what you're doing. You've done this before. So yeah, we'll totally give you way more than we would give the next person that just came in down off the street yesterday.
Mhm.
So make sure you're going into this with the right mentality. Like, I think what his point was is there's more money to be made in commercial potentially if you get the right investment. Nothing goes wrong with the right down payment strategy and the right financing strategy. Like, if everything works well and the stars align, it could work really well, but it could not. And if it doesn't, you're in trouble. It's a lot easier to manage this or if you're diversified with residential real estate. So that's my thought on that.
I think there's a misconception. A lot of people bash residential as well with the 300, 150. And last week we had 150. Like, that's unrealistic. That's if you get the property already turnkey and then you get investment property, that's going to be the cash yield. If you find an ugly house and put into it, we're going to talk about this later on as well, and pull the cash out. There's a strategy where you can pull your cash out and then and cash flow and still keep the asset all at the same time. So that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for something that's turnkey. By then, all the profit has been taken out of it. You know, so that's not what you're looking for, and that's a misconception that a lot of people try to, they skew that to prove their point. Now I do agree with them. Yes, there are more money. It's a quicker flip. However, big risk, big reward, but be prepared. You can lose your shirt. So
Sava, I think you were going to say something too.
No, I mean, I was just validating sort of what you were saying. When it comes to like verifying for commercial, I mean, realistically, if the deal makes sense on paper, you can find the funding, but we both know just because you can afford something doesn't necessarily, or you can get qualified for something doesn't necessarily mean it's a good deal. It's no different than on the residential side. Just because someone will give you the money doesn't necessarily mean you should sign and take on that liability.
Right.
So it, just because you'll find someone, who will provide you the funding because, again, the actual asset or the actual project makes sense doesn't necessarily mean that you're qualified to run it or purchase it. So again, I would always recommend starting with residential, because I mean, even with FHA, you can get into like a four unit, occupy one of them and rent the other three and still get in at 3.5%.
Yep. Which you can now do conventional too, by the way, on both Fannie and Freddie, 5% down.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, I would say I think both of you are echoing the same thing as far as cut your teeth in residential and then graduate to commercial. I think that's the best strategy. That's what I would say as well. I mean, if unless you're trying to be Phelps and you're still in the kiddie pool, it's going to be a rough ride. So. And you don't know what you don't know. You don't know the nuances until you come across it. So and that's not, when you're playing with real money, that's not something that you want to really do. Trust me. Let's get to the next one here. This is kind of my strategy for things. Like I like this clip right here. This is kind of
houses before you're 30 years old. If you can buy 10 rental houses before you're 30 and you own those 10 rental houses at the age of 30 and you don't buy another piece of real estate for the next 25 years, when you're 55, more than likely all of those properties are going to be paid for. And if, let's just say you still have a balance on all 10 because you put them on 30-year notes, you can sell off more than likely 2 or 3 and pay the rest off. So now you're sitting there with 7 homes paid for that you have tenants in and you have cash flow coming in every month. So think about that. If you literally had 7 rental properties making you $2,000 a month, that's $14,000 a month. That's called financial freedom. Buy 10 rental houses before you're 30 years old. If you can
actually wind up perfect. So now it's my time to go first. So that's actually perfect because I put this in here because this is my strategy. Like that's been my strategy since day one. I look at the monthly cash flow. And what I do is different businesses like, the Frenchies and other things that I'm into. And I take those lump sums and I pay down balances. And that way, when I do retire, I have those assets that's the tenants are paying that cash flow. So whatever I do as far as dogs or doors, that's just lagniappe, as we say in Louisiana, extra. So that's kind of my strategy. From there, yes, once if I do have a great year, let's say in mortgages, I will acquire more assets and pay those down. And I'm looking for the long haul. I know it's boring. It's a boring strategy. However, I think it's the most secure strategy because nobody's going to pick up a house and steal it. So it's
Very valid point.
I did have a dog. My dog was stolen for 3 weeks.
right.
We actually got him back with police intervention. So
Right.
that
Oh,
actually can
no.
happen. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's a solid strategy. I think it's slow, it's boring, it's not sexy. However, a lot of my brothers, my fraternity brothers, that's the way they do it. We talked about this last week as far as getting owner tenants in there. A lot of times they don't pay off, but you got a chunk of your money up front, that you could do other things with, and you could take out money, cash out, refi, not pay tax on it. We're going to talk about that later on. So I think that's the strategy if you don't have an appetite, like a casino-like appetite for investing. I think I do other things. My thing is this. I take more risk in businesses. And this is the foundation. This is my safety net, however, so to speak. So with businesses, I'll take a risk and dump some money in to add fuel to the fire to increase this safety net. Does that make sense? And that's my strategy on things is, will I get into commercial? Yes. Not right now, probably. All right, I got this much money that I could blow, so to speak, and I want to invest that. However, I'm not messing with this part, the safety net. That's kind of how I look at it. So I'll open it up. I yield the floor. Should I say?
Do you want me? I'll go next, and then Asaba, we'll let you end this one. So when it comes to what he was saying is kind of the same thing we were talking about before of diversification. He's saying, like, if you've got 10 properties and you need money from one, sell one. You need money from another one, cash out, refi, take money from another one. Like, you have options. In fact, I don't want to call her out on this live video, but there's a really good realtor friend of mine that I actually bought my first home for, is how we met. But we've been working together for like 17, 18 years now. It's something crazy. And she literally bought 20 plus residential homes. I think 25 at least over the time that I was working with her, not to mention the times before that she had all these properties too. And when, the cool thing is now in the current market, she's actually selling some of them. She's cash out refinancing some of them. She's acquiring cash because she actually has a different focus now. She's like, I still want to do real estate, but I want to kind of shift my focus over here into other things with my family and my husband's business and things that he's doing. So she has the ability to do this.
Financial freedom.
Yeah, financial freedom. She can do whatever she wants. I mean, like, they make really good money. Don't get me wrong. Like, they make really good money. She's one of the top realtors in my state of Minnesota, and her husband is very financially successful. However, now that they're selling off some properties and capturing some cash, they've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that's coming back to them now. And they haven't sold them all. There's still a bunch that they own, but they've sold some of them. They've taken cash out of some of them. And now this extra cash is allowing them to go do something else. And in a hot minute, they might decide maybe they want to go buy another one and start repeating the process and go find the right one, the right deal. And maybe they kind of like recycle this whole model in a second here, is what I'm kind of anticipating is going to happen as rates keep coming down, which is kind of the trajectory we've been seeing here. Home prices are stable, slowly rising, but stable. I think very likely her and many others like her will continue to do this. So like he said in the video, the diversification of, if you have one property, awesome. 2, better. 3, better. 10, better. 50, better. Keep going with the diversification, because then you can do whatever you want with all of these. You're not stuck, like in the last video we were watching, you're not stuck with one. It might go really well, or it might go really bad. And kind of a roll of the dice. You don't know sometimes. So I love the diversification factor. So that's my thought.
Salva, you're up.
I mean, I have a bit of an appetite for high risk, high reward. About 20%. The rest of it is all real estate. I made sort of the decision at a very young age that I truly just didn't see the advantages of a 401k, and giving that much leverage to like Wall Street or an investment firm that I have zero control over. And I have no idea where tax brackets are going to be once I retire. So there was just way too many moving factors for me to allocate a large portion or, count that as my nest egg or retirement account. So I did allocate a lot of my funds to real estate, and I ended up acquiring quite a few properties. I bought my first home at 22. And again, diversifying is key. But I think getting into real estate is crucial at a young age, because no matter what you do, there's so much advantage with having a physical asset. If the market's bad, you rent it. If the market is doing extremely well, you have the opportunity to take cash out and reinvest it, or turn around and sell it and take that money and invest it elsewhere. Real estate gives you so much power that no other financial vehicle in the open market really provides. So, kind of to your point, diversifying is important, but again, keep it on the safe side.
Right. And again, like I said, everybody has their own strategy.
Right.
I think it's like you said, what you have an appetite for is all about. You got to ask yourself and get with a financial advisor and see what your goals and what you want to accomplish. I think everybody's goal is financial freedom, but there's more than one way of getting there.
Yeah.
So
I add just one comment to this for anybody watching too? Just a reminder too, like we're talking about very far down the path strategy here of I've got hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest so far is what we're talking about. I have this many properties. Should I buy more? Like, is this the right strategy? But for anybody watching this, I'm renting. I have 0 properties right now. And I'm thinking I might want to buy a property. That's how it all starts. That's literally how it starts. You buy one house, and then you can sell that, cash out, refi, whatever you're going to do over time. Watch this thing grow. There's a reason why it's almost 40 times is the stat, 40 times the wealth of a homeowner versus a renter. That's a crazy stat. And the reason for that is because of equity gains in the real estate property. So do that once, repeat, recycle, do it again. And do it again and again and again. I mean, you eventually ramp this up. So we're talking about long-term strategy here, but don't forget, starting is half the battle, because so many people right now are making these emotional decisions. We talked about that earlier in the videos about making an emotional decision of, should I buy it all? Maybe I don't want to do this right now. Like, should I do it this way or that way? The facts are you will make more buying a house, period. There is no scenario in all of history, except for one period, which was the housing recession of 2008. That's the only period that the stats show you would have lost money, and that's only if you sold the house. If you held it, you would have still made money. So there's literally not a single point in all of real estate history that they have tracked where you will lose money buying real estate. So get into it, start it, and then let it grow. And eventually you can do what we're talking about, or this guy's talking about in the video here, of adding property 2, 3, 5, 10, 50. And you build that portfolio and you diversify and you have all these options. Like, this is where it's at.
Right. So yeah, that's what I was getting to. It all starts with one, of course, but Like I said earlier, you always want to start with taking the veil off of the fantasy that we have, like with the emotionalism, and start looking at it through the lens of, hey, this is a investment. All right, how do I take this and multiply it to 2? How do I take this to go to 3? How do I, from the very get-go? So even the first-time home buyer should look not just for the next 5 years. You should have a 5-year strategy, 10-year, 15, all the way down to retirement plan. Like Salva said earlier, 401k is really like, that was derived from, I think that was, I forgot who came up with that, but it's not a good thing, because you're getting taxed at a rate, like you said, that you don't know, and it's going to be worth less through inflation anyway. So yeah, I'm saving that for retirement. I'm getting a multiplier, but I'm getting taxed when I take the money out, and who knows what that's going to be, later on down the line, And then secondly, the money's not worth as much because of inflation, so it's not a good thing. So 401ks is not for real investors. It was something that they gave employees. I guess I'm not sure what they were trying to do with that.
The funny thing is, the story worth that real fast is pensions were there.
Right.
Pensions took care of everybody. Then they dropped pensions, these companies. They started doing 401ks with a match.
Right.
And then the match kept dropping and dropping and dropping till now. Most companies are like, oh, yeah, if you want a 401k, we'll give it to you, but there's no match. Or it's this much.
You're funding it yourself, yeah.
You're funding yourself. And because so companies because they're getting hit with these expenses too, they keep dropping and dropping and dropping the benefits until basically now it's like, hey, you still have something called a 401k if you want it, but good luck.
Right.
Here you go. Go invest in it. It's a vehicle, but you can do the same thing with a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, or if you're self-employed, a SEP account, self-employed IRA, self-directed IRA. That's a whole nother world of conversation of like things you can do over there. But like, there's so many things you can do in the investing space with investment strategy too, that could help you diversify. Why not add real estate into this conversation? Because it's probably going to be the most profitable thing of all of these things you're ever going to find.
The only thing I think real estate wouldn't be as profitable is going to be the life insurance, the infinite,
Talking about the cash value strategy there.
What is it called? Universal infinite something. Yeah. They changed the
cash value insurance. I like it.
Right. So, but where you got the triage of different, you got the triage of compounding going. I think there's no one way to skin a cat. I think my strategy is to use the real estate and use businesses to fuel and that's what we talk about on the Power of Ownership all the time, is that I use businesses, startups and buying businesses to fuel that real estate portfolio. And then that's the cash flow, because I think it's safer than putting in the stock market, because I tried that. I lost my shirt. I think it's safer than putting in a lot of commercial. Yeah, I tried in 2020 when it was all going good. No, you couldn't miss, but I find a way to miss. I find a way to lose like 150 grand, like somewhere.
Sorry.
In 2020, 2021. So I'm not good at the stock market. So, can
I add to that though, Brandon? Part of why you're saying that though, too, I'm guessing, is all of the business write-offs you get when you are self-employed.
Right.
Because honestly, if you're a W-2 employee and you have nothing self-employment wise, you have no 1099 income, you have no self-employment income, no real estate income, nothing. Mm-hmm. You have no way to offset your tax bracket. Like, whatever you make is what you make, and that's it. That's the taxes you pay. But the moment you shift over to business owner, like you're saying, of we love Frenchies. Hey, now I've got business expenses. I got to raise them. I got to buy food for them. I got to build houses for them, like all the stuff that comes with that. And that offsets your tax bracket on the other sides of your income too, because it's all lumps together in the end.
Right.
So
I like to use oftentimes on the show a sports analogy. This is a football, since the NFC championship was yesterday, and the AFC championship. I call it offense, defense, and special team. Offense is your investments. That's your where you're putting your money at, your businesses. That's your your 1099 stuff. Defense is learning how to save money, learning how to not spend a whole bunch of money to reserve cash flow. And then the special teams is tax strategy. A lot of people don't have a tax strategy. A lot of people think that, and especially in our generation on down, a lot of people think that they pay taxes out of their paycheck. You don't. Like they're holding it. You're giving the government a 9-month 0 interest loan, and then they're taking your money and flipping it, and you only pay taxes once a year. People, I got to pay my taxes. No, you pay taxes once a year. They're just withholding your money and they're taking it and spending it.
Yeah.
So, so if you don't have a tax strategy with different LLCs, different DBAs and S corps and stuff like that, where all right, I'm going to take a loss on this one this year. This one. If you don't have a strategy, you lost. So a lot of people just kind of playing the game and they don't understand the rules of the game.
I'm going to throw out there too, Brandon. We should probably bring a video or two into this at some point in the near future and talk more about that strategy too.
Right.
But,
right. Let's go ahead to the next one.
Go ahead. But please, I interrupted you. I apologize.
Right.
No,
yeah, go ahead, Salva.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I mean, I speak to this all the time.
Mhm.
And I've sort of coined like the language of finance. We're taught a complete different, I didn't go to school. I came here in high school, so I didn't get the traditional entire format here. But one of the first things I picked up on is there's literally 2 languages that we operate under. You have the Webster Oxford Dictionary, and then you have the legal dictionary, which everything we're held financially, legally responsible for is in a complete different language. And majority of us, unless we went to some type of, specialized education, majority of the things we sign, we have no idea what we're obligated to or how the world of finance actually works. Like,
Right.
There's such a disconnect for information that should be common knowledge to operate in the financial world. And it's not. Even
Right.
with all the technology and information that we have available.
Right. That's why most people have to hire attorneys to interpret the language, the legalese. They don't understand the language. I think David and I were having a conversation off camera about this, about etymology and not understanding the language. Most people can't read legally.
Right. But it's not that. You go through 14 years of schooling.
Right.
You don't know how to buy a house. You don't know how to properly insure your assets. You don't know how to even set up your tax returns or how the banking world works.
Right.
Most of
And
us,
Not to get us banned, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's intentional.
I agree. I didn't want to go down that rabbit.
We won't go down that path. But yeah, I want to. What's funny is actually in my high school, the high school that I went through was a homeschooled school that was a correspondent thing back when dial-up internet was a deal, and I was one of the only people that had a consumer finance course. Taught me like how credit card debt works, how to balance a checkbook, how to manage your savings. Like these are things that are not usually available in any courses in any school. It's not a thing. And the only place people can find it is here.
Yeah.
What we're doing right now is like the only place people can really find it. But then there's so many thousands of millions of voices on this thing too.
Bad information.
Good professionals, licensed professionals to guide you. So I want to just make sure to preface here, or make sure to mention in this video here while it's being recorded. If you are listening to somebody that claims they can give you advice on this topic, make sure to confirm if they are going to give you the right advice. Make sure they're licensed, make sure they can give you the right strategy, because there are different opinions for sure. But as you made the point, Brandon, legalese of, do they understand how and when to apply certain things, how to do this stuff this way versus that way. Like there is a balance here of, just because somebody has a license does not even in itself mean that you should listen to them. So be careful with that too. But that's why we're here talking about these strategies. Different professionals out there with all these different ideas. Which is the right one for you? And sometimes it does change. It's like a fingerprint. It is unique to you. So sometimes your strategy might be different than my strategy or Brandon's or Salva's. We all might do it a little differently.
Right. And I'm going to say this and we'll move to the next clip real quick. But now you're getting the crux of the actual show. Ownership is not just the thing that we say; it's an actual mind frame, and it's a different language that I'm trying to express through these clips and through these just conversation. And it's the language. Once you understand the language, now you see it starts to unveil itself on how you could make this work, and it's set up for you to work the system. It's set up like that. However, if you don't understand what I'm saying, if I'm saying what, you're not going to get it. So we're trying to make this translate, and I'm doing it. I'm slow dripping it. Session by session, conversation by conversation, to have that light bulb come on, like, tell me more. Something will hit in somebody's different, in the audience, something will hit to each individual, and that's what we're doing here. That's the crux of the show. So let's go into the next one. Not to be long-winded, Chief Longwind here.
Yeah, that was a long one on that video, but I think we had good stuff there.
Like me never pay taxes. Let's say I buy a property for $300,000 and 7 years later it's worth $700,000. Is it smart for me to have that $400,000 in cash just sitting in that house? No. So what you do is you go to a bank and you go, I want to do a refinance, and you get a new loan, not for $300,000, but you get a new loan for like $550,000. Why? Because then I get to pull a chunk of my money out. But is that income? It's not income. It's a debt. I'm getting a new loan. Who's paying the loan now? The tenant. So the tenant sits in there, I refinance the loan, and I don't make that payment, the tenant's making the payment. And so every 5 to 7 years, you pull a big chunk of money out and you go buy more with more debt. This is how rich people like me never pay taxes.
Yeah, Dave, it's your turn.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Can we count? Yeah. Okay.
Before you go on, actually, don't forget, for those that's watching, don't forget to like the video. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and comment, and then we'll read the questions live. So if you got any questions about tax strategies, investment properties, commercial real estate, let us know. We'll answer the question live here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this guy, we're talking more about the financial side of it, or the financing side, I should say. So you have this property that's worth X amount when you buy it. And I know I think there's another video we're going to watch that's going to break this down even further, like a really good case study, essentially like validating what this guy's kind of saying too, of the value is X today. You buy the property, you get financing for it. You try to minimize your investment as best you can to get into the property. Now that property starts to grow in value over time. And as it grows in value, your balance is slowly being paid down by the tenant. Eventually, you have this gap called equity of real money, dollars, cash in this house. So you've got 2 ways to access it, basically. 1, sell it, get rid of it, and now you can pocket the difference. Or get financing for it. That's option 2. Get financing for it. And now if you get financing for it, you can take that money and utilize it for something else. So what he's saying is take cash out of the property after you have enough equity, use that for other things, buy the next one, do repairs, rehab it, do whatever things you need to do. Maybe, like we talked about in the video just a second ago in our video here, maybe you use it for another business. And this is going to offset a tax strategy over here with that dollar. But then you do it again over time. Maybe 5 to 7 years from now, like he said in the video, that property's worth another 50, 100 grand more. And now you can do it again, rinse and repeat. And depending on the interest rate pricing at the time, that does play a factor. You may or may not want to do it as fast or slow, depending on the circumstances. You might want to do it quickly. Like do it, and then 6 months later, do it again. You might want to do it and then wait 6 years and then do it again. It depends on the property and the financing and the timing of this thing, which is where a good advisor will come into play for both real estate and mortgage lending, or commercial lending if you're doing a commercial property, or business lending if you're doing a business. I mean, it doesn't matter what type of business we're talking or industry we're talking about. Equity is equity in whatever it is you're doing. So continue to work with the equity that you have, access it when you can, because that's real dollars. If you think about it this way, and this is something that MBS Highway talks about all the time too. If you think about it this way, every dollar that's in your house or in that property is essentially growing at a 0% rate of return. Every dollar, because it's going to go up every year at whatever it goes up by. And it's going to go down every year by whatever it goes down by. So whether you have 100 grand, 500 grand, whatever of equity in the property, it doesn't matter what your mortgage balance is. If the property you buy today is 300,000 and next year it's worth 310, it doesn't matter if you have a mortgage or not. It's still worth 310. Like, that's what it's worth. So if you think of it that way, why wouldn't you take the money from that property as fast as you can and use it for something else? Use debt to create new debt, which also creates wealth, which is what the entire economic structure is based on in this country for how you grow wealth. This is why the wealthiest people in the world are the wealthiest in the world, is they're using debt to achieve their goals. So I think his strategy is spot on of access the equity as fast as you can. That's my 2 cents on it. I'll give it up from there.
And so we go in round robin. So
Okay. I agree for the most perspective. I mean, again, you don't pay taxes on borrowed money. So you definitely always want to leverage that to grow and build with. I'm a big fan of using other people's money instead of going into like my personal equity that I've built, unless I absolutely have to. I would rather use it as leverage to borrow other people's money instead of actually using my assets to grow with. Especially if you've already, like you said earlier, you can't tap into equity unless you sell or you refinance. I try to avoid or advise avoiding using your own money unless you absolutely have to. But everything else, I mean, you're spot on.
I mean, sometimes you can add secondary financing too, so you don't always need to refinance either. But yeah, use other people's money. That's exactly what we want to do all the time.
Now, here where I get controversial, I don't know about with this particular crowd. The old panel always got controversial when I talk about this. This is a different strategy. And I want to say this before I get into it, just as a prerequisite. I don't know if you remember on the 2016 campaign, the debate with Trump and Hillary. And she was trying to accuse her, you probably don't even pay taxes. And Trump,
I know exactly.
Trump said, that's because I'm smart. I don't know if you remember that, and he's absolutely right. Most of the rich, or the well-off, should I say, don't really pay taxes. It's the middle class and the worker, the lower class, that pays the brunt of the taxes. And that's because they don't know and they don't have a tax strategy. You got to, and they don't even know it's a thing. They think that, hey, I'm supposed to pay taxes. That's what it's supposed to be. And they think this is tax evasion, and it's not. There's more laws that's written into the tax code on how not to pay taxes than they are on paying taxes. So with that being said, my thing is this. I definitely agree, OPM, other people's money. But I look at it like this. Sales, because I'm good in sales. Sales is other people's money to me. So I'm good at selling stuff. So I dump stuff into businesses, and I use that business money to leverage and buy down my properties. That is other people's money, inadvertently.
Right.
So instead of getting the debt on the properties, my goal is to have these properties free and clear by the time I reach a certain age. That way, if I wanted to sell a property, I have it free and clear instead of having a debt on it. Now, if I did want to get debt, that debt is available as well. However, my goal is to use these businesses that I bought and fire those up, and then use that to pay off, along with the tenants that's paying off, to pay it off quicker. So I have the 7-year mortgage strategy as opposed to the 30-year mortgage strategy. So I double and triple up on the principal every month. So that's my strategy. Yeah. So that's my strategy. But I run up other businesses. I have Frenchies going on. I have vacation businesses for, I have all kind of different businesses that I dump into the pot. And my goal is to have X amount of properties paid off by the time I reach 55. And that way I have this financial freedom. That way that cash flow is larger. And then all right, I'm making up numbers. Let's say $1,800 mortgage, and the tenant's paying $2,000, $2,500 in rent or whatever. That cuts into that margin. If it's $2,500 in rent, it's free and clear. Besides for the taxes, that whole chunk is mine. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, and then I want to offset a lot of that with the charity. A lot of people don't understand with charity. If you got a full 501c3, a lot of times and you put those properties in that name, you don't have to pay property tax. So there's all kind of ways to strategize on that defense, not paying money in special teams that wins championships. Look at the Patriots. So it wasn't their offense. It's the defense and the special teams that took them to the bowl. So you got to have all three firing on all cylinders in order to win championships, win that ring. So I know it's controversial, but everybody want to borrow against the debt. That's cool. That's there because it's tax free. However, if you look at businesses, that's tax free as well because I'm offsetting my 1099 income.
Right.
Would it be safe to say, Brandon, though, what you're saying is essentially the same thing? It's just you're saying if you have other ways to do it, though. Right. If you can create a business, create a charitable, nonprofit, you can have these different things. Whatever your strategy is, like if you can do different things, do that. Right. That'll help you. Like I think we're all saying the same thing and agreeing. It's just if you can do the other things and add on, like bolt on to this thing, this thing gets super like on steroids better. And like another thing too, and we're not going to go into this on this video, but a lot of people don't maybe realize that there are different kinds of loans out there. I know at our company, you and I, Brandon, we've got at least 4 lenders that have different lending options. It's the same program, same concept, but 4 lenders we can access it through, where if you have good credit and you have a decent amount of income coming through, it goes principal first buy down, interest second in how your payments work versus every other loan that exists on the planet.
You talk about all-in-one?
Government, yep, the all-in-one loan, which is CMG or others similar to it. But where it changes the way that the calculation is done, you do that, all of a sudden the exact same dollars you've got are automatically putting you 100, 200, several hundred grand ahead of the next person because you just have the interest structure differently. And that's at a higher interest rate too, which is the weirdest thing about it. So,
interest rate really don't matter. That's what I try to tell a lot of people. Yeah, it really don't matter if you have a tax strategy. A lot of people, they're looking at it through a faulty lens. You're looking at it, you're not thinking along the lines of the rules. You're playing soccer and we're playing baseball. Yes. You're playing the wrong game, But again, it's keep watching the program and we'll unravel that stuff layer by layer for you, But it's a different language. Let's go. We got 2 or 3 more, so we got about 20. I don't want to put a cap on it, but we are running a little bit late, so let's go ahead and knock it out.
There's $1.6 million in credit cards. I'm going to show you how I got it, how I keep it, and how I use this to make millions in real estate. Pay attention. I got a 0% credit card offer for one of my LLCs. This one is called Stay with Jude. I scanned the code, filled out the application, and in a couple of days, I was adding this U.S. bank card to the stack. 1.625 million now. What you're thinking? But Jude, now you have a hard inquiry that's going to bring down your credit score. I just reached out to my boy Weldon, Ace One Credit, and asked him to scrub that for me. In less than 24 hours after I sent that text to Weldon, my score was up 6 points, and those inquiries were permanently removed from my credit. So here's where it gets really good.
I leveraged those credit cards to buy this building for $630,000. I have a rental on the top floor, and I'm using the bottom for my own business. In March, this building appraised for $1,150,000. I'm currently doing a cash out refinance to pay off the credit cards.
So what am I going to do with the 1.625 million that I have in credit cards? Well, I'm going to buy this building for 2.5 million. This Harlem Brownstone was last purchased for $4.3 million by a nonprofit. They changed directions and had to sell it, so I'm buying it for 2.5, almost $2 million in equity. So I purchased this building, I'm going to refinance and pay off the credit card debt, and I'm just going to keep doing this over and over again. You can buy Rolexes and Chanel bags with your credit cards, but this is what I'd rather do. Choice is yours. Peace. So this is $1.6 million in.
All right, so I think it's Sava first on this one, right?
I don't know how I feel about this video.
This is the one I think you said ahead of time, by the way, that you had like all kinds of notes on, didn't you?
Well, no, not necessarily. It's just, you see things like this and it's blatant. It's clickbait or designed to get you to buy some kind of course or some type of service. Because we all know this isn't legitimate, right? No one's going and buying real estate off of, credit cards, even if it is interest only. It's a promotional period, usually 6 to 12 months. And no one's making large financial decisions based off credit cards, because as soon as that promotional period is over, you're going right back to the, 15 to whatever interest rates are. But aside from that, again, it removes all the tax benefits from real estate. So again, it's just, there's so much bad information. And then, he mentioned that he called this boy to like remove an inquiry off his credit report. If the inquiry was legitimate, we all know, and the bank or the crediting, the crediting bureau can verify that credit was legitimate, which it's not getting dropped off because someone just disputes it, which is what the video was implying. To kind of put it in a nutshell, it's a very irresponsible way to get into real estate. It's not a real strategy. Do real estate investors use credit cards to buy inventory, maybe do some like renovations. That's typically only when there's lack of reserves or the financial strategy from the initial strategy went sideways. And it's a Hail Mary approach. No one goes into real estate purchasing with credit cards. And then there was he went from 600,000 to 1.1 million, but there was really no information of what caused the property to go up in value. So I'm not sure if there was like renovations or something else that caused that forced appreciation. But I think what I would like everyone to know is just like, be cautious when you come across information like this, because it's just inaccurate. You always want to touch base with professionals who actually are in the industry and doing this legitimately versus someone who's trying to sell like a course or some type of service. But yeah, that's all I have for this.
Gotcha. I think it's, first of all, not saying that I agree with him. I think it can be done. He found a crack and got creative. However, I don't think is you're able to duplicate that. I think it worked for you. However, I'm not sure how he's not telling us how much in fees. Like, usually when you pull it cash out like that, there's a lot of fees associated with it. Right off the top, even if you're in a promotional period, which I don't think you're going to have all those credit cards. You have a stack that thick that's going to be in that, time frame of months, all brand new credit cards, so
right.
Not that many, because once you start getting that many inquiries, they start shutting it down, like, now we're not giving you any more credit, you're overextended, so even though how many credit cards can you get, so he had like 40 credit cards there, like, come on. So let's be realistic. So it might have worked for him. It might have been that anomaly. However, I don't think that's a strategy that you want to duplicate. I think, like Sava said, yes, you can use credit cards or business lines of credit to stimulate the flow. You know, I do that as well. I have business lines of credit that, hey, I need to get this for dogs. I want to actually buy this particular stud feed. It came out of nowhere, so I want to go and get that going. So yes, you could use those lines of credit. However, I don't think it's a good strategy. He's omitting a lot of information. I think a lot of people do this to go viral and clickbait and, you know, stuff like that, but it's not backed by facts. You know, like you know, skipping a lot. Like, all right, this doesn't make sense. You know, and you know, if somebody's just going to give up a $4.3 million brownstone in Harlem, which is premium real estate for damn near half the price. Like, why are they doing that? Right. And then, you know, where are you going to get the cash from? All right, the 2.5. That's you know, I'm adding. You got 1.6. Where the 900,000 going to come? Are you maxing out all the credit cards? Then after you cash out refi, you're only going to get 80 LTV at commercial. If that's a brownstone, maybe 70, 75, maybe 80 max. So you add that up. You know, where's the money going to come from? You know, so it doesn't really make sense mathematically. You know, for somebody, I think a lot of people want to sound smart to dumb people. You know,
can you imagine closing that transaction with like 30 credit cards all
right,
going
like,
on different accounts?
It sounds smart.
What was the mortgage person thinking when he saw this? Like, wait, what?
Well, you
imagine escrow.
Just for those that's novice at this, you can't go to the title company with a credit card. And there's no swiping. You have to pull cash out and you have to generate a check. And usually that check is gonna be associated with some fees. You know, they're not gonna just give you this cash for free. It's usually, you know, to pull cash out, it's a premium on that cash.
Yeah.
So
cash advance, right? That's what they call it, a cash
advance. So you're doing that 30 times. You know, and then there's a thing too, like all right, you start maxing out these cards. There's soft inquiries that kind of gives everybody else a heads up. Hey, he's going on a spending spree, and they'll start dropping your limits. All right, you thought you had 10, you wake up, you got 2.
We reevaluated.
We reevaluated your limit. We're going to go ahead and take that 10 away because you're going on a spending spree.
The math is the mathing.
All right. So it's not realistic. It's not a realistic strategy. Maybe all the stars align one time, but I don't see that as a wash, rinse, and repeat. I'll yield the floor now.
All right. I agree completely on that point. I wanted to take this in a little different direction, though, just for being helpful on this point with people watching this. So first of all, keep in mind, if you even wanted to attempt something like this, let's just say this guy's legit. You want to attempt this, you have to already have a pretty good credit score to get a really nice quality credit card that's going to give you a 0% interest rate for 12 to 18, 24 months, whatever that is. Usually you got to have a decent rate already or a decent credit score already. And once you get into it, then you can make this game a little easier. So there is a barrier of entry, same as we've been talking about with real estate investing. Like you could go out and buy that, you know, $10 million commercial property or buy your first house and then stair-step your way into this thing. There is kind of an argument, I would say, playing devil's advocate on this point, on the credit card limit side. So one thing that I try to make sure my clients understand when I'm working with them on as a mortgage advisor is when it comes to credit card limits, many people may not realize, but the second most important thing about your credit score is your credit limit. So what you do is you get into something like this. You do want to take on a credit card. You want to build up the reserve or the limit right away as fast as you can. Like how high can you get it? Use the card properly. And there's a whole nother video probably on this thing of how to use it properly to get the higher limits. But the thing is, if you do it right and you use it correctly, and then you ask for a higher limit and ask for a higher limit and ask for a higher limit, and then you get a new card and they're like, oh, they gave you a higher limit. Oh, you're already here? Yeah, like we'll give you a higher limit to start. And then we'll give you a higher one and we'll give you a higher one and we'll give you a higher one. That's why, to be honest, like personally, most of my credit cards are $20,000, $30,000 limits. Because I just keep asking. I'm like, hey, give me more. And they're like, sure. You did it before. Like, why won't I do it again? So they just keep raising it. So I literally, like, not to this guy's level, but like I've probably got 150, 200 grand of credit card, limits that I can play with personally. So that gives you leverage. That gives you options. I'm not saying you should use it. Definitely do not use it. Don't go do what he's saying of like max this thing out and take all the money out. But having the money there available to you is nice, especially if you can take advantage of some of those 0% interest options, or we won't give you an annual fee. We won't charge you a cash advance. We won't do these things because we want your business. And this is where diversification comes in again of Capital One, Citi, Discover, Amex, like whatever. Like you got all these different credit carriers out there. So you don't have all of them with one. You've got 2 or 3 with each one. So you keep adding and adding and adding, which is what helps you build your score. The ultimate use of a credit card is having hundreds of thousands of dollars of a limit and never really having a card use other than once a month for the most basic, simple, stupid gas groceries. You used it, they can prove it, and you're done. Do this. Now you get higher scores and you can take this to do other things. So what if, hypothetically, playing devil's advocate here on his point, what if you had 100 grand of credit card limits, you didn't really have any debt, and you had some incentives there, and you took out some money at 0% interest to then go buy a new property, in theory, that now didn't cost you any interest to take that money out, and then you do this in the right way with the long-term strategy of paying that back like he's talking about, where you never really get hit with the interest. In theory, what he's saying is not entirely untrue, but to your guys' point, I think it is clickbait. It is not the strategy that anybody should be pursuing. This is more of a sideways concept of do these kind of things, add credit card, debt to your equation to ensure you have a higher score so that you keep building your limits up and then you have more options down the road. So there is a little bit of financial strategy to this, but this is where a really good qualified professional can guide you on this thing that not every mortgage professional is going to be able to do.
Right.
So,
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. Like you can, but I looked at the score on it, the video, they said 836. So yeah, that takes years to do. That's not an easy thing. So to do, yes, you can get in the 7s, you can get in the 7s easy, you get the mid 7s easy. When you start creeping on 8s, you have to have some tenure with those trade lines. So before you start getting in the 8s, and especially at 836, that's almost a perfect score. So I don't know, that might have been a clip from somewhere else. That might be AI, who knows? But if let's take him at face value. Yes, say that's true. It took him years to get to that. Yes, you can do that, but it's risky. It's definitely high risk, high reward. Instead of taking your cash, you're taking that credit, and then you're hoping in 12 months that you can get all those renovations done and you can sell that house before it hits that interest start hitting. And then
part of your score is diversification too of asset classes. So having a mortgage and a car loan and a personal loan and credit cards and all these different things help with the diversification or the asset allocation in the credit scoring model. So if you only have credit cards, that's a bad thing. Right. You want a mortgage loan and you want a car loan. You want these other things to help offset that too.
Gotcha. Sava, you was about to say something?
I apologize.
No, I was just going to say, like personally, I truly wouldn't understand even going down that road.
Right.
Because I mean, getting to 730 definitely takes time. You can expedite that on the business side a little bit on, and get into credit cards or higher balance credit cards a little bit quicker. But at the end of the day, why wouldn't you just go take out a loan against the actual property itself? Because you're going to write the interest off anyway. So it's not like you're getting an advantage by going the zero route, but you are putting yourself in a very high risk position if you don't have it done within that promotional period, because if that promotional period expires and you have a ton of debt, they're not renewing that. No one's touching it.
Right.
It's
And
designed
it's
that way to, not saying it's a trap, but it's designed that way. Anyone who's gotten into these will affirm. They'll give you all the zero interest loans until you actually take advantage of one of them. So,
There's a reason these companies do that.
right.
They know exactly the human psychology of this thing, of how it's going to work, of you're going to wait too long. You're not going to do this fast enough. You will end up paying all that interest anyway. So it sounds nice. It's not actually zero interest. It's deferred interest.
Precisely.
So I think that's a whole nother element to this thing of what he's talking about in this video. Is this is a timing matter too. Like if you have these cards and you put it on a 0% interest, great. If you can time this real fast, real quick, perfectly, great. But what if, hypothetically, even if this worked, you waited just a little too long and you've got tens of thousands of dollars of interest just hit your account all at once, and now that just tanked your score, prevented you from getting new cards. All your other accounts just dropped your limits. Like Brandon said, we're just going to cut your card off from you, by the way. So you do this wrong, you're in trouble quick.
Well, it's going to tank your score anyway because your utilization went up.
Well, yeah. And how much of your credit card interest can you write off?
Right. So you can't write off any interest. So yeah, it's a dangerous game, and like you said, it goes retro. So you're paying interest from day one. So it's a dangerous game. I think he won all the stars aligned. I wouldn't put my all my chips on 7 again or whatever he's putting the chips on. I don't think it's a repeatable strategy. So I don't think go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, if he's done it successfully more than once, I want to know who his contractors are.
Yeah, good for him. Because a lot of things can happen. Anything can happen that delays that sale of that property. You're toast. You're cooked.
Yeah, your point, Saba, is I was thinking the same thing. Is there's so much we don't know about this.
Right.
That's going on probably behind the scenes here that is affecting this, that made it work. It's not just this one thing. It's all those other things like the contractors and the right property and all these other factors that play into this thing that turned it into a successful thing for him, if this was a legit thing.
Or it might be some exaggeration on too as well. So who knows?
I think we got some salt and pepper for seasoning.
Wait. You're saying everything you see on social media is not 100% believable?
Right. I think it's, it might be some conjecture to that as well. So let's
have a seat. We'll talk.
Let's go ahead. We got 2 more, so let's go ahead and knock these out.
Over here, 20 years ago for $192,000. I could have fixed and flipped the property back then and make 20-30% margin, maybe $40,000-$50,000 net profit, which isn't that bad. But I decided to actually keep the property. And the tenant's been staying there for 20 years and they've been paying the mortgage all this time. And I was making about $500-$800 a month. But fast forward today, I just sold and closed it here last week for $600,000 as is. I owe about $90,000 on the property, so I actually walked away with $500,000 profit. But what I'm gonna do with the money is where the magic happened. Watch this. I'm gonna take this $500,000 profit and I'm gonna buy 2 properties with it. I'm gonna use $350,000 to buy this property right here, and another $150,000 to buy another property. Then I'm gonna get a loan to rehab both of the property and a loan to build out the 2 ADU in the backyard of both of the property. All in, said and done, I'm gonna have 4 property worth $2.9 million. I bought this property right here 20 years ago for $192,000. I could have.
Who's first?
I think it's me on this one.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see the strategy, and that's kind of part of my strategy as well, with the businesses and buying businesses. That way I do have these properties free and clear, and it's compounding interest and compounding equity in it. It's getting more and more valuable. One thing, like you said, David, I think you said this show and the show before as well, that properties are going to do this. How steep the incline, it just depends on the market, but it does typically do this.
It's always going up. Yep.
Yeah, so it's always going up. And then what happens is, even if inflation is going to be worth more than it was, when I initially got it. So as long as you update it, you can update it and do renovations and stuff like that. It's always going to be worth something, because they're not making any more land, so the land's getting more and more valuable. So yes, I could take this and I could pull money out, buy 3-4 more. That's the strategy. And then what I'm doing is I'm building the furnace right now. I'm putting the wood in the furnace by other businesses. And I think now is the time. We talked about this, I think before you joined the show, David, we had a show about the silver tsunami. I think now is the time. And I'm, shameless plug, I'm kind of veering off here, but I'm gonna come back to what I'm talking about. Now, right now, more than ever, anytime ever, the boomers are retiring. So they're selling their businesses, and people don't understand. And I'm glad Sava's here. That's a whole nother VC way of private funding. There's investors, that's all they do is they look at profitable businesses and they will give you money to run a business because they don't want it. All they want to do is throw money at it. You run it. You spearhead it, and they collect their equity. That's all they do. SBA, that's part of what they do as well. The only thing they do is they do startups as well, but SBA looks for businesses that's profitable, and they'll throw money at it, and you can borrow that and then take it off of the EBITDA. So that's what they do, and that's an asset. That is a living asset. That's generating cash. And you could take that and dump it into that's, in my mind, that is diversification.
Yeah.
So yes, you can diversify your real estate portfolio. That's fine, but having investments in different entities that's feeding and having a synergy of one another, I think is my strategy. And I want them to feed each other. So, and now is the best time to buy businesses that people are, and even in our profession of real estate, people are selling their book of business.
Yeah.
They don't, the kids or something like that don't want to get into it. Hey, I sell it to that rock star agent, and they're getting out of the business. So how long? Eventually it's going to come. So HVAC stuff, all this solopreneur stuff. I'm telling you, that's
Boring
where
cash cows.
Say it again.
I was just saying boring cash cows.
Yeah, stuff that's always going to make money. That's what you need to be investing in, because a house, yes, that's going to always make money, is always going to appreciate. But however, this is going to be, with businesses, that could be money in your pocket, and it's tax write-offs, because everything that you spend for the business, it's a write-off. So, and I'll yield the floor from there.
Sava, do you want to go first on this one? Just because this is kind of more your space, what he was talking about, the business side.
I mean, it all ties together, but it's completely up to you. But I can go next.
I'm just saying, like, if staying on that
Yeah,
topic,
no.
I would love to get your opinion on what he was saying about the business side of this too.
I was actually focused more on the real estate side, and I love the way he approached it. Because again, sometimes it doesn't matter what the actual house is worth, because it also, a big piece of it also matters where the house is situated, the actual zip code. So keeping a house for a long duration, like, yes, it's going to go up in value, but if you have land in areas that become developed, your house doesn't necessarily matter. You can go in there and build multifamily units, especially if the zoning changes or something else changes in the actual, because you can renovate the house, but you can change the neighborhood unless something happens in the area to change. And I think that's what happened with this, where he, if I'm not mistaken, he took down the house and then built 4 units. So again, I mean, that strategy.
He out the house, and he got 4 houses. He got 4
Okay.
houses from the proceeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
He built the
exact, but
yeah, and I think he built an ADU in the back of 2 of them.
I'm actually confused why he didn't show a picture of the finished house to contrast the two, of like, so I did this. Then he's talking about it while still showing the old house. Like, why don't you show the new house? Of like, what did the difference look like? So,
Right. So yeah, I mean, his strategy is, solid. If you're going to get into real estate, you want to do it. That's the footprint you want to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, location. You
Right.
you basically said that. Like, it depending on where you're buying is a massive factor in this concept that he's talking about here. Because I think this is kind of like honestly, isn't this like the biggest real estate investors quandrum here? Is that the right word? Quandrum? Brandon, am I using that right? Quandrum? Query is a different way. Whatever.
Right.
Anyways, when you're buying a property, do you buy and hold it or fix and flip it?
Mm-hmm.
Buy and fix, hold, buy, fix, flip. These are two completely different strategies. Everybody's got a different school of thought on this thing. And I think it really comes down to personal finances, the location of the property, the type of property, how you want to run your business strategy, and then everything else that we've talked about up to this point of all the things that tie into this thing. What other businesses do you have? What other tax strategies do you have? It doesn't really make sense, because I love that when you shared that video, it's funny. There was a comment actually there. And so I'm actually glad in this particular case that we saw the comment. There was a comment about like, dude, you're an idiot. Why would you do it this way? You should have taken that money and bought 2, 3, 4 more properties.
Mm-hmm.
You could have, but it worked really well for him.
Right.
So
I think it depends. It depends on what it is.
Depends. That's
Right,
exactly
and
what it depends.
Again, when you walk away from that much, with that much cash, you also want to make sure that you reinvest it to not avoid paying taxes, but to fully get the benefits of the tax treatment. So again, majority of the time when you have comments that are, a little aggressive, it's usually because they're looking at it from a very focused lens versus the entire portfolio of the picture. So again, there's not necessarily, everyone's strategy is a little bit different, and there is different ways to going about it. But I mean, I'm a huge component of buying and holding, just because you have multiple ways of benefiting from one single property, from the tax advantage, from the equity that's building, as well as bringing in a passive income. There's 3 highlights just with one single property. So, once you sell, you don't have any of that. So, but it really depends on, again, what you're looking to accomplish.
Could I add to that too? Like, I just wanted to say, like, if you're buying a property and you're holding it, you can sell anytime you want. You buy it, you rehab it, you get a tenant in there. You could wait 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. You can sell it whenever you want. You don't have to do it today. Because I think a lot of people have this mindset of like, well, I'm a fix and flip person. So I'm going to buy and flip and flip and flip and flip. And I'm going to keep doing this. But is this the right strategy for you today in that area at this time with the current tax laws or tax code, I should say, and everything else that goes into this thing? Is this the time to do it? But if the key is acquiring it, rehabbing it, having it. Now you have a path. You have 2 choices. You now have this situation. Do you hold it? Do you sell it? But you don't have to sell it immediately. You could hold it for a little while and see how this thing goes. And maybe, just maybe, if you're in the right area, the right location, the right strategy with how you built the property, how you structured the renters, maybe this thing is worth tremendously more if you just hold on to it another year or 2. So I think there's an art to this, and I think it really comes down to personalization. It's not a guaranteed this way works better than another way, necessarily beyond just you figure out your strategy. And this is where other professionals come in to help guide you on this thing too. And you build up experience, and you start to learn what works and what doesn't work. So you're not going in blind either. Like, I'm going to be like, go into investment property. I'm going to be a fix and flip investor. That's my decision. Or buy and hold. Just go in, get it, start, and go from there. And a lot of people start this whole thing, by the way, buying their very first home with minimum money down, selling it, taking equity out, like my wife and I did.
Right.
And then we move forward to the next property, and there's all our equity into the next property. And we didn't even have to come up with a down payment. There it is. And then you can do it again and again and again as you keep going. So that yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think, that strategy works with your first few properties. But as you begin to build a book of business, obviously being on this side, it's super crucial that we have an exit strategy when we're providing the funding. So, figuring out at the end is not necessarily something I advise, especially if you're dealing with a little bit more seasoned investors. Only because if you're planning on holding it for a year, renting it for a year, you're gonna build the house, you're gonna rehab the house a little bit different if you're gonna hold it long term versus if you're gonna just have tenants, because you automatically know you're gonna have to go in there and do renovations again at some point. So putting a ton of work only to have renters in it for a year or two, that you want to take that with a bit of grain of salt, just because a lot can happen or go wrong with tenants in a house for a couple of years. I think it works for your first couple properties, but as far as getting into some of those bigger projects and bigger developments, I think having a solid exit strategy is super crucial, because you want to know where you're starting, where you're going, and the roadmap to get there. But with your first couple properties, I think we all winged it.
Absolutely. Can I add a shameless plug for all of us here on this point? Even if you think you're going to buy a property for cash and you don't think you need financing, you still would probably benefit from having a consultation with a really good mortgage advisor, whether it's residential or commercial, whichever path you're taking, or business strategy. Have a good financial consultation of, what will I be looking at today if I suddenly needed to pivot? All of a sudden, like, I'm going to do this, but what if the market shifts like it did? What if the rates go up? What if my finances change? What if I lose a ton of money in my business? What if my business partner leaves me? What if, like, all the hypotheticals, like all the things, have the conversation up front, so at least and you can go in prepared to this, both eyes open. Even if we have nothing to do with the financing right now, because you don't need financing right now, that's okay. Have the conversation and plan it, because I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is they only talk to a financial professional when they think they need financial advice in that space. Get the advice up front, know what you have options to do, see where the market's at, and then plan this out. And if you never need it, great. Good job. But at least now you can be ready for this, and you're not going in blind. And if something happens, you have your next step.
Gotcha. I just want to say this before we go to the last clip here. What I was going to say is that I think you need to be a little bit of everything. I don't think you need to be one of anything. A lot of people get into that mode. I'm a fix and flipper, and that's all I do. I buy and hold. I do this. I think it's got to be, you got to be opportunistic. And that's the way I am with this. That's my approach. If the opportunity presents itself, yes, I'm going to take this and fix and flip it, because the market dictates that. If I have an opportunity to take something that's going to be in an area that I know is going to be developed, I might want to hold on to that. You got to be able to pivot on a dime. Also, a lot of people don't understand the work that it takes. All right, you want to be a fix and flip? You better take about 20 to 30 hours a day to just canvass neighborhoods and knock on doors and talk to neighbors and talk. Every time you see somebody that's outside doing construction, you better be talking to that crew and seeing, who owns the house, what other properties they have. So that's a full-time job to look for your next plate. When am I going to? All right, you ate off of this one. All right, where's my next meal? So you want to talk about you're a fix and flipper? You got to be canvassing constantly, or have wholesalers, a string of wholesalers that's working for you, finding these properties, because that is the business in a nutshell. It's easy to find that as far as to do the process, but finding the properties is the whole gist of the business. Because just like you, everybody else is looking for those same properties. So who's going to get there first? So that's the nutshell of that. So yes, when I stumble upon a property, again, I don't have 20 to 30 hours to exhaust and to be a fixer flipper. You know, when I do, the opportunity presents itself, yes, I would take this, and I don't want this in my portfolio because I know this neighborhood is going to go to hell soon. I just want to get it and renovate it and boom, get out of there. The market dictates that. So I think, you know, the best gamers, you know, if I use a sports analogy, are a little bit all around. They don't want to coin themselves one thing. I don't want to be just a rebound. I don't want to just be a 3-point shooter. I want to be good at everything. Does that make sense? So be opportunistic with this investment thing and be able to be open-minded. You know, a lot of people are closed off to opening businesses. I don't know. Well, all right. If you don't have an online business in 2026.
Yep. I want to say, Brandon, your analogy of basketball is spot on with that.
Right. If you can't make $1 million off of this right here in 2026.
Well, like in general, most sports, your spot is your spot.
Right.
But in basketball, it's very different. You might have a general spot, but you move all around and you still pivot into whatever role you need to take on at that moment, and you get good at these other things. So I think that's a great analogy of that. So,
right. You got to be a little bit
going off or something.
I don't know. I don't know what that was.
Or is that Sava?
Like a beat. Last. Yeah, I don't know.
Fair enough.
All right, last.
In December for $5.5 million. I've kicked off half the tenants. At the end of this year, the property will be worth about $11.8 million. And let me tell you how I'm doing that and what I'm doing. So number one is completely remodeling the building. You know, the building was brick previously, currently in the process of doing stucco. So the stucco, in between the stucco is wood. So there's stucco, black bands, wood, which we've already done some of it over here, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then stucco and everything. When everything's stuccoed and done and painted for the whole building, this building is 35,000 square feet. Redid the monument sign, all that. When that's done, then the next step will be to go ahead and get all the landscaping done. And what that does is that beautifies the property, increases the rents that are being requested. The old tenants were paying, you know, very little rent. In addition to them paying very little rent, they're late on their rent, everything else. So utilize the clauses on being late in rent and just told them, hey, I can help you find a new space or whatever, but this space is not for you long term. They decided that they were going to leave. So now that leaves that open for me to find tenants that are willing to pay the rate that I want. Because commercial real estate is based off rental rates, if I'm able to get twice as much rent as what I was getting previously, which I'm getting actually 2 to 3 times as much rent, but I'm being conservative. If I can get twice as much rent, the building's worth twice as much. That's how we get from a $5.5 million valuation to an $11.8 million valuation. And this is how we do it. Commercial real estate, how we build value. Bought this property in December for.
Is this one me to start?
Yep, and that actually lines up perfectly. That way I get the anchor, and then we can roll out from there.
I love it. Okay, so I like one of the comments actually. Again, I actually kind of like when you share it this way with the comments on the side, because you can get a little bit of flavor of what people in the audience are saying already. But in what he's saying, I think, you know, curb appeal, outside of the property, exterior landscaping, this all makes a difference. Absolutely makes a difference. Huge in what you're gonna, you know, be able to see from the outside. Do you want to buy this property, especially commercial? But if it's not remodeled on the inside either, will somebody actually buy it? I mean, I don't know. We can't see the inside. They didn't show it, so I don't know what it looks like. But as great as it looks like from the outside, it might attract buyers. Is it gonna keep them though? Are they going to make the move? Are they going to invest in the property? Because it, as a commercial person coming in, that amount of money, you're going to want to make sure that this fits your business. And right out of the gate, like if it doesn't fit your business model, if it's not built up and ready to go interior wise, and you have to invest more money on top of whatever you're buying the property for right out of the gate, just to make it your own, of like creating the walls and moving the cubicles around or putting glass in or whatever other things you're going to do interior wise, that might deter you from wanting to buy this property. Doesn't matter where the location is, doesn't matter what it looks like from the outside, right away you're going to have an investment going into this thing. So I don't know, would somebody want to do that if it just looks pretty from the outside but it's crap on the inside? We don't know because he didn't show us. But I think there's a balance here is kind of the main thing I was thinking is it's both. You can't just do one or the other. I think there's a balance of both depending on the property. And that's what brings that curb appeal on the outside, makes it buyable from an inside structure standpoint. And then that's what'll help you grow.
Gotcha. Sava.
To your point, I actually would have really liked to see the inside and actually see what the use of the property is. There was a few things that were, there wasn't enough information to get a full picture, right? Curb appeal is definitely important, but especially with commercial, you can't just repaint, add a little bit of stucco, and force, property value, force appreciation. We all know that's not exactly how it works. I guess my concern with his approach is just because, like, with commercial leases, you can't, it's not like a house. You're not just going to have someone come in. There has to be a specific use for the actual building. So whether it's a restaurant or, office space, those are very different clientele. So it's majority of the time you do the renovations around your clients or leave it open so someone can come in. So pushing a renter out doesn't always make sense. So I wish there was a lot more information there, and I would have seen the inside to kind of see the use of the property. But in the long run, I don't know that pushing out tenants is the best approach. I think it makes a little bit more sense to work with the people in the area, because all it really takes, and we see it on the residential side. I mean, in the last 5 years, especially, there's been a huge push of institutions coming in, purchasing, going into specific areas, purchasing a handful of properties, selling them to each other, and then forcing the actual communities that live in those areas out. So they price them out, and it happens both in commercial and real estate and residential. So I'm not a fan of this approach, but I would have liked a little bit more information to get, an idea of what the actual property is being used for, what kind of business they run out of it. Gotcha. Or if it's a blank canvas, that's a complete different story.
Gotcha. I think a lot of the teaching point of this one, a lot of my audience and the audience didn't understand and might have not known, was that it's about the cash flow of that actual commercial property. How much rent can it collect? And then from there, that adds to the valuation of that property. So I think his strategy is running, skewing up, so to speak. It's a whole retail term, meaning that, hey, instead of staying at Walmart, we're trying to be Nordstrom, and we're trying to get higher end tenants. Because that's another thing people don't realize as far as commercial real estate. You think residential don't pay on time. Try to go commercial. A lot of those, they're notorious bad payers. And a lot of, especially with small businesses, they lag behind all the time. You would think it'd be the opposite, and it's not. So this depends on the business. So what he did is got better tenants in. Not easier said than done. However, that is a strategy. With his type of money, with his type of wallet, yeah, you could do that. But if you're just starting off in it, you want to you just want to have the thing occupied, so is that a strategy? Yes. However, the theme of this night is that everybody got these creative strategies, but however, are all of them something that you just want to get into, or are they one-offs? Yes. Can you do that? Yes. But you got to have a lot of experience to try to fill those without going broke. I'm going to kick these people out. I'm going to kick this tenant out and try to get better tenants. Easier said than done. So
very true.
Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? No, because I wouldn't have I have the network to do that. However, everything doesn't fall. So how long would I have this empty as opposed to having a slow pair in there? So And then who's the guarantee that I replace this with somebody who pays on time? It's a lot of factors, you know. So it sounds good in a real, but realistically, is it going to be perfect like that? Possibly not. You know, can it happen? Yes. Can you? Yes, I can upgrade it. I can attract better tenants. However, if you look at really, and Sava could attest to this, most of those big box, they're not going to small strips like that. You're not going to attract another big boy. It's going to be all small businesses.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Can I just comment too? I mean, so I'm based in Minneapolis, Minnesota here, and funny enough, it's actually, you can look up articles on this too. I mean, half of the businesses in downtown Minneapolis just left. They're gone. Like it's just vacant, empty skyscrapers across Minneapolis. So this can actually happen depending on the area you're in. This is where location comes into play. You have an existing tenant. Like, why would you kick somebody out that's already paying money and likes the location, likes where they're at, has a business operation? Like, leave it be. Don't necessarily mess with it if you don't need to. Only if you need to, or there is a true beneficial way to generate more income from this and change the strategy here, would I change it? But I mean, honestly, I think as time goes on, across the country, I think the way things are shifting, more and more home-based businesses and more companies just kind of changing the way they're doing things. I think commercial real estate is going to continue to have a struggle a little bit in this area. So I would argue, if you're a commercial real estate investor, be careful before you cut bait and run with this new tenant that you want to go get over here, because I want to make more money on the rent. Maybe, but maybe you should stick with the current one, ride this thing out a little bit, see how it goes. Kind of we talked about in the last video of, do you buy and hold or fix and flip?
I think it's situational. If you got would you keep a tenant that's 6 months behind? Would you keep a tenant that's, you know, a year behind in rent, you know, that's never going to get it? Or do you cut bait and like, all right.
And in that case, I would say yes. Definitely don't do that. If you're if you're not paying rent at all, leave. Yeah, make the change.
Right. So it just depends. I'd rather have something rather than nothing. This depends on the situation. And then as far as if he could do it, if he has the lure, and I think he has the digital presence to do it and attract, hey, this is my building, come in. He has the magnetism to do that. I think if you just and it's not, everybody doesn't have that motion or that magnetism to do that. So I don't think that's a strategy that anybody can do to get a better client in, you know. So it just depends. And then I want to end it on this note. Whatever you do, I mean, like I'll say every week, something works and nothing doesn't, right? So everything works, you know. So do something, you know, as far as ownership and, you know, whatever strategy you take, always seek mentorship, and whatever strategy you take, do it to the fullest extent. Don't tiptoe in it. The best way to get in the pool is to jump in, you know, but don't just jump in without, you know, holding your nose first, you know. Make sure you plan on, all right, I'm going to jump in, but I'm going to hold my nose so it doesn't hit my face and close my eyes. So jump in the deep pool, but have a strategy when you jump in that deep pool.
I want to point out too, for anybody that's still watching here or coming in at this point, at the very beginning of the whole video, we do put all of our handles and phone numbers and everything there that you can reach out to us with. So if you do want to reach it back out to us and have conversations with any of us, because we all are experts at our own, you know, area of expertise, please reach out to us. We would love to help you, guide you through this process, give you resources, and maybe even direct you to other people that we know in our network. They would be really good resources for you as well to help you through this process, even if it's not in our space that we work with directly.
Gotcha. And with that being said, anybody else? We're right at the 2-hour mark. I remember when I first talked to David, like 3 hours. Bro. How do you do it? Like, man, it goes so quick, you know. So this 2 hours, this is not long as show, but you see how quick it goes, and then we're kind of cutting some things short as well. So, you know, we had actually more clips than this. So that's why some streamers you see stream for 8 hours, you know, and it's about the engagement. That's how they get paid. It's about how many people how long can they retain that audience, you know, and the more the retention, the more money they get. So that's what it's about. You know, some people watch other people play video games. We're trying to do something a little bit different as far as, you know, education, trying to, you know, be the Rosetta Stone, so to speak, of this money making thing.
Translators of the language of 5 minutes.
But the money language, you know, so the currency language. So that's what I'm trying to, you know, and this is the thing. I'll say this, and then I'll leave it on this a words of wisdom, because we usually have a positive clip. A lot of people try to evoke these different things, but you know, they will try to manifest this and manifest that or whatever. You can't do that unless you learn how to manifest yourself and learn how to evoke your own self. And that's what ownership is about. You know, owning the things that you do the day-to-day that actually equal the results that you need to take yourself to the next level. And that's what it's all about. You know, so with that being said, we'll see y'all next week.
It's a good show. Thank you guys both for
spending time with us.
good content.
All right.